Hi there. Some of you may recognize that song. That's Come As You Are by Kurt Cobain of Nirvana. And I want to use that song today to talk about rhythm, counting eighth notes. Also, I want to talk about a few different techniques, most specifically picking, what's called alternate picking. So if you were watching, you may have saw me doing down and up strokes on the string. And also I want to talk about how to sort of zone your fingers, assign your fingers to specific frets so that you're not shuffling around the neck when you play something like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to a screen recording and show the tabs and talk a little bit about the rhythm and counting and so forth, and then we'll come back and we'll show you how to do the picking a little more close up and how to finger it. Okay, so here is the notation and the tablature for Come As You Are. Any of you who have never read tabs before, the lines that you see represent the strings, and the top line represents the first string of the guitar. Then we go to the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. The bottom line represents the sixth string, and then also we have the numbers, which represent frets, and the zeros represent open strings. So you can see in Come As You Are, we're really only playing on the sixth string, and we have notes also on the fifth string. That's it. And then above it in the tablature, you can see these symbols right here, this V shape and this little box shape with the open bottom. These are the symbols for downstrokes with the pick and upstrokes. And Come As You Are actually starts with an upstroke and then follows with a downstroke and an upstroke and so on. And when you're doing this with the pick, this is called alternate picking down and up across the string, and it's more efficient than just doing downstrokes. You could play Come As You Are with just downstrokes, which would probably be easier in the short term, but because of the efficiency of alternate picking, it's much easier to make something smooth, to keep your hand relaxed, to keep it from sounding jittery, to keep it even, and to play faster. So here we have all of the picking written out, and the picking follows a rule. It basically obeys a rule that says that only downstrokes happen on numbered counts, and this is the counting, by the way. When we have eighth notes, we count 1 and 2 and 3, and the plus signs are pronounced as and so we always want to do our downstrokes on the numbers when we have eighth notes, and we want to do our upstrokes, which are represented by the V's, on the ands. There are always exceptions to this rule, but this is a good basic rule to follow, especially if you're just learning how to use alternate picking for the first time. So for the most part, as far as the picking is concerned, and as far as the notes are concerned, we have a fairly continuous stream of eighth notes with only a couple of places where we pause for an extra count. One is at the very beginning of this repeating pattern, which is called a riff, by the way. When you have a sort of a pattern of notes that gets played over and over and over again by the guitar and the bass and other members of the band, this is called a riff. And so we have our first pause here on the first beat of the first measure, and then we have our second pause right here. And this is about halfway through the second measure. The other thing that we want to remember as far as the left hand is concerned is that we want to assign our fingers to specific frets, and in this case we really only need to use the first two fingers. So the number 1 in the tab corresponds to the first fret, but in this case you can think of it also corresponding to the first finger. So you would hold this first fret of the 6th string down with your first finger, and then you would hold this second fret of the 6th string down with your second finger. So apart from the open notes, there are only 2 fingerings in all of Come As You Are. You're just holding notes down on the with the first finger and with the second finger on the 1st and 2nd frets. So now what I want to do is I want to switch back over to the camera and show you how to do this and take you through it a couple of times. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is just sort of start off with the left hand, and I just want to mention again, when you're playing through Come As You Are and you have fingered notes, they're only going to occur on the 1st fret or the 2nd fret, and we want to use the corresponding finger. By the way, we don't number the thumb, so we number the index finger as 1 on the left hand. If you're right-handed player, it would be the opposite way if you're left-handed. And then we number the middle finger 2, the ring finger is 3, the pinky is 4, and we're only going to use these 2 fingers, fingers 1 and 2. Okay? So the riff starts out with the 6th string played open. Then we're going to repeat that note, and then we're going to press our first finger down on the 1st fret of the 6th string at the 1st fret. And just as an additional statement, it's always good to be in the high part of the fret when you hold the note down, but not on top of the fret. And we don't want to be real far back in the fret. So by high I mean closest in the space behind the fret to the body. And low, which we don't want, is closest to the headstock of the guitar. So we want to be as high up in the fret as we can get, but just behind the fret, not on top of it. Okay, so we're going to follow that note with the 2nd finger holding down the 2nd fret of the 6th string. So far we have 2 open notes, 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 6th string, and then we have 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 6th string. Then we're going to follow that with the open 5th string. We'll play the 2nd fret of the 6th string again, come back to the open 5th string again, then do the 2nd fret of the 6th string after that, come back to the 1st fret of the 6th string, then play the 6th string open, then we'll hold down the 2nd fret of the 5th string, play that, and then we'll play the 6th string open twice. Okay? So that's the left hand. You can run the video back if you want to go through that one more time. Now what I want to do is I want to switch over to the right hand, and I want to talk about the picking a little bit. Because the first note of Come As You Are starts on the count and after the 3rd beat, we're going to want to start our open 6th string, our first note, with an upstroke. So up in the direction of the ceiling. So we'll play that same note as an upstroke. We'll follow it with a downstroke. We play the note twice. So up, then down. Then on the next note, which we hold down at the 1st fret of the 6th string with our 1st finger, we'll play an upstroke. And then we'll follow that on the next note, which is 2 on the 2nd fret of the 6th string with a downstroke. This note is a quarter note. It actually gets 2 counts. The next note that we have, which is the open 5th string, is going to be sounded on beat 2, which is a number count, so we want to do that as a downstroke. After that, we'll play the 2nd fret of the 6th string as an upstroke. Then we'll come back and play the 5th string open as a downstroke, and then come back one more time to the 2nd fret of the 6th string and play an upstroke. Then we're going to play the 1st fret of the 6th string as a downstroke, and then we're going to play the 6th fret open as an upstroke. And we're going to hold that note an extra count through 3, and then we're going to follow that with the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and then we're going to play which we play as an upstroke, and then we're going to follow that with the open 6th string played as a downstroke, and then played as an upstroke. So that's the right hand. I know it's pretty complicated. This is a tough one for beginners, but if you're a beginner and you can't muddle through all that picking, you can just go ahead and just do it with all downstrokes. So the next thing that I want to do is I just want to talk a little bit about the rhythm, because the timing of this is difficult unless you have a really good ear and you can just hear things and kind of imitate the rhythm. Some of you might have some problems getting the notes played at the right time. So in the music, which you can download at my website, guitarlessonsincolumbia.com. It'll be on the sample video page below the video player. In the music, which we went over previously in the screen recording, the picking is all marked in. Okay, and so if you want to stop the video and go to my website and print that, it might be a good idea to have it in front of you while I go through the counting. I have the picking, it'll have the counting written in, and it might make a little more sense as we go through it. So you could pause the video if you like and go download that. And but I'm going to go ahead on now and run through it a couple of times with the counting at a slow speed. Then we're going to do it at a sort of a medium tempo, and then we'll try it up to speed. So let's try the slow speed first. And the first note of Come As You Are, as I've mentioned before, starts on the count and after 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and, evenly spacing those counts all the way through. And what I'm going to do while I do that is I'm going to try to get my notes to fall on the counts that are, if you're looking at the music, that are written above the note. Okay? And so by having that constant count go through, those places where I'm playing on every count and not stopping will be even, and at the same time those places where I have a quarter note or a pair of tied eighths, as we do in Come As You Are, I will know how long to hold them for. So let's go through this very slowly. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? So that's the slow speed, and you can run the video back and practice along with that a few times. Now let's take the tempo a little bit up from there. So let's try it at about this fast. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Okay, and now let's go ahead and try it at the full tempo, at a faster tempo. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 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 and 2 Okay, so that's Come As You Are, and also alternate picking, and the concept of assigning your fingers to specific frets. I hope you liked that video, and if you want to download the PDF that you saw earlier in the video, you can come to my website once again at guitarlessonsincolumbia.com. Go to the sample lessons page and you can click on a link for the PDF and download it on that page. Thanks.